Okay, the first thing I want to do here is just I'm in my Google Docs right now and I just want to open up a new form or a new document to write the memo. So I'll go to my week 7. I have my notes, so I'll open those up as well from task 1. And I'm going to create a new memo document. All right, I'm going to change the title immediately. Week 7, task 2. Okay. First thing I'm going to come back and it says your principal has asked you to write a memo that will help as the technology plan for the next 3 years at your school. In this memo, the principal wants you to present some new creative ideas about how to encourage the integration of quality online classes with teachers, students, and parents. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and copy it. I'm going to put that right in my memo so I know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Okay, and then trying to organize my writing a little bit here. I think I'm going to start with, obviously the intro. It'll be intro/benefits. Jeez. And then also I kind of want to summarize, maybe what online courses can be, I guess. Just like the different opportunities. There are different types / opportunities. And there's a lot of stuff from my notes that I was looking at as far as the charts that I pulled up. What they can actually be, what type of virtual schools are we talking, or virtual classes I should say, are we talking about. And there can be a mix of a bunch of different things, not necessarily, right here it talks about private virtual charter schools, things like that, not necessarily like that, but there's other charts with this link right here that I can look at to determine, the different ways that online courses can be implemented into the traditional classroom setting right now. And then I'm going to talk about, encouraging teachers, encouraging students, encouraging parents, breaking it down like that, and then finally just a conclusion paragraph there at the bottom. Okay, so I think I have a pretty good outline for the memo. Now we're going to break it down here. Coming back to my notes. Talking about the reasons people use, or the reasons schools use or even produce online courses. Taking a look here what I have, makeup credits, help students get ahead, lets students work at their own pace, in which I think is kind of already, it might not be well known to parents, and I think if I were to write that in the memo just at the beginning, just to kind of summarize where I'm going to be going with this, I think that'd be very helpful. Okay, so I want to say something about makeup credits. Let students work at their own page. The use of online courses in the traditional classroom setting can be very beneficial to students and teachers alike, whether it be to make up credits, whether it be to allow students to make up credits, graduate early, or just an alternative way for instruction. These online courses in the traditional classroom setting can be very beneficial to students and teachers alike, whether it be to allow students to make up credits, graduate earlier, or just an alternative way for instruction. I don't know if I want to say whether. I'm going to come back to that thought here in a second. So let's go back to my notes and see what else we got here. And I brought up another window so I could do some searching if need be. I'm going to go back to my notes real quick. Not my memo, notes. Looking through, I talked about networking, which might be one of my areas of focus when I get down to, parents and other teachers. I could add this in, I think, for a benefit of, the student or the teachers and students is, opportunities for immediate feedback. Teachers spend a lot of time grading, papers and assignments and assessments and things like that. And, that can be definitely one way. So I think I'm going to write that down as a bonus for teachers, as the opportunity for immediate feedback. And that can be something that flows into, the student section as well. I'm going to go to this link here real quick. Is it? Okay. Virtual schools, district level. Single district cyber schools, multi-district cyber schools, cyber charters, district level supplemental programs, statewide supplemental programs. This may not be what I was thinking of. Okay, here's some benefits: expanding educational access, providing high quality learning opportunities, improving student outcome and skills, allowing for educational choice, and mean administrative efficiency. Student readiness issues. Come back to this, the challenges, and kind of talk about that in the intro as well. Just understanding that, making sure that they understand that there might be some challenges to what we got going on. The use of online courses in the traditional classroom setting can be very beneficial to students and teachers alike, whether it be to allow students to make up credits, graduate early, or just an alternative way for instruction. Students let's say online courses can be an effective way to meet the diverse needs of all students. Period. While there may be some, let's see here, issues surrounding startup costs. What are some other issues that I had in my notes from the other day here? Startup costs. Now I envision, since I'm going back to the memo, talking about your principal has asked you, so I'm writing from a high school perspective here as opposed to K-12, because it's talking about the principal has asked you to write a memo that will help the technology plan for the next 3 years as written at your school. So I'd assume that I'm correct when we're talking about just the high school here, because that's where I work in the district. That's the school I work at. Which we've implemented. Thinking about my school, we've implemented alternative at our high school this year, or actually the last couple of years. We've implemented the alternative ed, which is all online courses. And one of the things that we don't do per se is use the online courses in the traditional classroom setting, but we do have the alternative school. It's in our school, but it's not necessarily it's not off-site. So that might be one thing that could better or make that program more successful that I'm thinking of. Implement, or when writing to my principal, would be the fact that the students are in the building with all the the traditional setting students, which can serve as a distraction to both groups of kids at some time or another. With the different schedule, they only go Monday through Thursday. They get out an hour before the traditional class does. So that might be one thing as far as I'm just going to jot down. Is an opposite, not opposite, an alternative building for our kids. And that might be something that I want to search and do a little bit more research on, and see the difference between an in-house alternative program, and as opposed to something that's outside of the traditional school building. All right, so alternative for alternative ed. Okay, and that might be something. Let's say search in-house versus traditional. This might be something that I look at when I'm talking about I don't know where this would fit in exactly. I guess it would be maybe a recommendation I have for the principal in the intro here, because we do have the alternative ed program already. Alternative building for alternative ed students. With the financial difficulties that our district is going through right now, we've had to close 2 elementary schools in the past 5 years, and we're going to close a 3rd one this year. So we don't necessarily have, we have buildings, but we don't necessarily have the money to run those buildings. to provide that opportunity for alternative ed students. But at the same time, if we perhaps invested a little bit more money into that program, we could potentially take students from other districts as opposed to just the students at our school. So depending on what type of classes we offer and things like that. But at the same time, you run into the kids as I'm looking at my benefits. If we don't offer a class at our high school, what do we do with those kids that just want to take a class like let's say Mandarin Chinese or whatever it might be, that we don't offer a practical math class for my students with disabilities who can't quite reach Algebra 2. So maybe we have 2 programs, an alternative building for students that are 100% online, and then maybe a different class, in which we kind of do already, now that I think about it. What we do, we have a credit recovery lab for students that are in the traditional classroom setting. We have a credit recovery class, which can also be used for different classes. Classes not offered at PHS. Okay, so I think that might be something that I address in the intro or the opening paragraph here, is just what the different online courses that we present right now, or we have right now, and maybe some suggestions to better do that, because this credit recovery class that we do have, there's 35 kids in the class, all on computers, all working on their own thing, and there's one instructor. And again, and I've talked about this before with our district, both the alternative program and the credit recovery lab, we have teachers in there that with teaching certificates that don't necessarily get paid anywhere near what a teacher in the district does, so which causes some difficulty there. But that's just the way it is right now. Hopefully, this financial burden that we have, can go away in the near future, and we can, begin to pay these teachers what they deserve. So let's see here. Let's go down kind of all over the place now. There's some. Let's jump back up to here and see if we can't, keep this going. Whether it be to allow students to make up credits, graduate earlier, just an alternative way for instruction, online courses can be an effective way to meet the diverse needs of all students. Well, there may be some challenges with setting startup costs, in startup costs and infrastructure, Jeez. There may be some challenges such as start crossing structure. Students with motivation, willingness to succeed can greatly benefit from this type of learning. And I can come back and I might change the way that's stated. I don't necessarily like the whole why. There might be some challenges, but I might want to support why they can be benefit, or why there can be a great benefit. So I'm just gonna come back and just do like the support for why. I think I'm gonna go. Let's see here, my notes. One thing that I keep thinking about is, the amount of research of the effectiveness of these virtual schools. And I sit here and say in my memo, it can be greatly beneficial for students to take these online courses, but there's not a ton of research out there that says that they're 100% effective, or what types of successes there have been. So can't necessarily say that per se, but okay. So I think I'm gonna keep that open. I kind of want to come over here. Actually, let's go back here real quick. I'm talking about encouraging teachers. Let's just do a quick search. Encouraging teachers. Encouraging teachers to implement online. So let's see if anything comes up for that. Implementation, delivering a course, teaching online. Interaction. Take a look and see what this says here. E-Learn magazine, how teachers use technology, 6 ways to get your online students participating in. Let's take a look at that one. See if there's anything here. Dual enrollment. What the best online teacher should do. Okay, let's see here. Let's take a look at those three real quick. The education sector is rapidly changing, adapting to new technologies. Modern days have made educators go above and beyond with their teaching skills and learn to use new tools to innovate their style and create a better learning environment for students. Education try to bring closer students from all around the world. Okay, this isn't exactly saying, this is talking about online courses, and I can see, being a teacher myself, I can understand the concern of teachers, and I think the teachers would be the most difficult to encourage. to use these online, or to use this alternative way to teach, just because, one, they're not, necessarily familiar with all the tools that are available. So maybe I can say something, about the concerns of the teachers. It can be concerning, just because, one, like I said, being that they're not necessarily comfortable with the technology piece. Two, I think most teachers feel that it's their job, to teach the kids in their classroom, and they're ultimately responsible for the learning of all their students. And turning to a completely online class, definitely it can make the teachers, in my opinion, feel less valued. And I'm not trying to say that selfishly, because it is indeed all about the kids and all about their learning and all about their growth. But at the same time, I feel like the teachers feel responsible for that and want to make sure that they're involved in that process as much as possible. So, I don't know, just an idea I'm going to type up is just less valued, responsible. And, that might be incorporating technology. Obviously, that's the way of the future. That's the way things are going. So, incorporating technology in the classroom is huge. I just have a hard time, I would have a hard time convincing, teachers to, go 100% online with them just being, if they're creating the courses online, that's one thing. If they're given the resources to be able to create, so maybe that's something that I write about. If they're given the resources. And maybe that's what I hit home with. What the heck? Given the resources to be able to create online courses. And I think that's going to be my main focus here, and we'll find some supports to back that up. But I think teachers definitely need to be given the resources to be able to create online courses. So maybe my next Google search here is going to be creating online courses. I'm going to write that down for a second here. Let's see what I come up with. Let's go back and just kind of finish up reading through here. This talks about online quizzes, feedback forms, surveys, polls, all things that can be used. I think this is more supplemental in the classroom as opposed to in a complete, online course that you would, do, or you would, use in the classroom. What did I do here? Okay. They're talking about online interaction as opposed to 100% online. So we are going to go on to the next one. I did get some, reading through there, though, I did get, some ideas as to what, ways we can encourage teachers. So I think that was beneficial for me to read that section. As an instructor, consider giving students feedback about their assignments using a template book detail. Alright, so this is more the complete step-by-step guide to designing. Oh. Have you ever worried about the level of participation in your online courses? Perhaps you have difficulty encouraging students to interact with one another, or maybe you find student responses. Surely there must be a way. Support learning. Shared 6 techniques for encouraging interactions that boost learning in that online class. Okay. Optimize use of introductions. Encouraging students and the professor to share personal information like hobbies, interests, and demographic data. Okay, and I see that done, I think, in every single one of my grad classes that we've had thus far. You know, the first discussion board topic or whatnot has always been, you know, use the introduction or encourage students to, you know, encouraging us to share personal information, something about us. Use the instructor as a model. As an instructor, considering using a template that details the expectations for the assignment. Model good communication by adding personal comments tailored to the student, thereby giving an example. Substantive writing. And I think that's one thing that, you know, I've appreciated so much at this class is the amount of comments that we've gotten back, you know, as opposed to some of the other courses throughout the grad class. It's always nice to get feedback, you know, and understanding, you know, helps you understand the assignment better, understand the expectations better, especially for future assignments as well. Use of a clear grading system, encourage students to, okay. Use of student moderators. Students, of course, not have to be the only one. Use student moderators on a routine basis to manage discussions. Use of voice conferences. In some cases, a live voice conference can be a valuable addition to the online course. Just kind of when I'm reading through this, I'm getting the ideas of students, for encouraging students, just an idea here that they can take control of their own learning, as well as, what was I thinking? There was something else, so maybe I'll think of it if I continue to read more. Development of supportive forums. I like this one. I'm going to keep that up. I'm not going to close out of that one yet. Okay, what the best online teachers should do. Oof. Fostering student engagement, stimulating intellectual development, confronting intriguing, beautiful of reality. A natural, critical learning environment. The third essential characteristic of the best teacher is building rapport with students, which can be, you know, difficult if it's completely online. Other than one face-to-face teacher who used online discussion boards, teacher book. This is kind of ways to implement Well, I like this little chart here. It kind of breaks down. I'm going to copy that, put it in my notes. And I know I've already kind of got everything done, but I'm going to add it right here. Building rapport with students. Okay, I'm going to go back. I got to save that. There we go. Okay. Be flexible deadlines. Ooh. Alright, I think I'm good from here. Just some more benefits and more things that I was looking at. The one thing that I just jotted down that I wanted to go back to was just creating online courses. Create free online courses and bring the latest Blackboard. Here, let's take a look at the 7 free. So maybe it's a platform that we want to use here. Create an online course for training and learning. Let's see what this that first one that I clicked on. Let's see what's going on with that one. What were they online? All right. Oh, not this one. This one. 7 platforms. Yep. Okay. And that's one thing that the very first one is something that we've been encouraged to use at our school is Moodle, and we have done. Teachers are very familiar with Moodle. We've used it in our professional development days, but again, it's never really strictly enforced. And I've used this in my classes in my undergrad as well as the Moodle. So, I guess if it's been successful with other teachers in the district, or actually in the school, I don't know why we would try to reinvent the wheel or try to completely do something different. We might as well just build off that. So we'll come back to the teaching, and maybe creating Moodle account for creating. Although that's not very new and creative, so I might have to, continue to search about, the different things there. But just because we have already gone through that, and we've had those resources made available to us, but it has been a while. It's been, a couple years since we've even talked about how to using Moodle. I think a lot of teachers just use it for tests, different assessments, surveys, polls, things like that, but don't have their class 100% online with Moodle. So it might be an opportunity to build off an existing platform which we already have, and just kind of continuing to implement more and more. The free platform for teaching online courses. assessments, activities, post and collect assignments, build a wiki, monitor student activities, and create chat rooms for discussion forums. For teaching courses online, anyone can sign up for. The one thing that I think, would have to happen, which I don't know that would, as far as encouraging teachers goes, is I don't know that a bunch of teachers, being in the, again, and I know it sounds terrible, but teachers aren't willing to go, and work on their own time, with the financial, again, the financial struggles that we've had in our district, feels like they're continuing to take from the teachers, taking a cut, pay freezes, paying more into our insurance, things like that, all excuses. Again, I know it's 1,000% about the kids and growth, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be difficult to get teachers, and not personally. I would 100% be willing to come in during the summer and learn and take PD courses about ways to implement this online education in the classroom if I knew it was going to be beneficial to all my students. But I don't think that's the same. We can't get teachers unless there's some sort of incentive. We're not going to be able to get them in to the building in the summertime, or perhaps we could take Friday PDs, which is something that we've incorporated this year. We have a shortened day on Friday. Students are only in school till 1 o'clock, and then we have from 1 to 2:30 every Friday to for professional development. And unfortunately, the first three quarters were pretty much taken up by a book study, which I didn't think was necessarily effective or needed. And I think we could do a lot more interesting things with that Friday professional development. So if we had Friday PD kind of geared towards implementing online courses, and we could work together, and teachers in the same, have online collaboration with, oh geez, what the heck? Collaboration with teachers in the same subject area to try to develop online courses. I understand, professional development. They have a set, what they have to do, what they need to get done. They have a set agenda for that. But if we could incorporate, we're here anyway. I know it's on a Friday after school, and a lot of teachers are just ready to go home at that point. But if we could implement and get them collaborating and get them working on online classes, it's a great way to integrate technology into the classroom, as well as teachers can bounce ideas off of each other, and just I think it would be an effective way to use that time as opposed to a book study, which was awesome this year. Let's see here. I've never used one of these platforms before. I've never heard of quite a few of them. Peer-to-peer university. And now it's the university level course. I'm going to go ahead and watch this quick video on Moodle just to see if there's anything. Jeez. Okay. Um, Obviously, I've you know had minimal experience with that, but it's something that a few of our teachers, I don't want to say a ton, but a few of our teachers are already familiar with. Um, so I think I got some good ideas for teachers, um, and then I can kind of summarize that up with some of the resources that I've used. Is there another site that I think I looked at this one and I wasn't strong homepage? This is just kind of another, um, 5 tips for incorporating or using an online class. So I'm not gonna worry about that one per se. I'm gonna look up perceptions of online courses. Student perception of online learning. And see how we can gear perceptions of online courses, student perception of distance learning. See if there's anything in here. Let's just take a look at those. Oh. Independent learning communication. Several challenges. Let's see here. I don't know if I necessarily. Let's go to the next one, see if there's anything different. How's this one written? Let's see. 19. Lots of. Yeah. This one looks like it's from a little bit ago, so I'm going to go back and see if there's anything different. I can look that back up. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these ones as well. I'm going to keep that one. Go ahead and throw this one over here. Get rid of it on this side. Let's see if there's a teacher and student perspective of online learning. Got that one. 2011. This one's from 2013. Is that the one I just opened? No. This one's from 2003. Things have changed quite a bit. 99, 2007. Ooh. See this one from just this year. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go through that one. Alright. This one's a little bit more recent. Collaborative learning in online courses exploring students' perceptions. I don't know that this is really. This is just the abstract, I think. think this is huge, that I might want to state somewhere, is that the collaborative learning, is pretty much with everything you do now. Everything's required, or your teaching style. You want to develop those 21st century skills for your students, and one of the big things is the collaborative learning, the use of technology, and those types of things. So I think, I want to highlight collaborative learning somewhere in my memo there. So let's see here. Maybe I'll go right here. Just that I'm not necessarily going to go there, but okay. I talked about collaboration with teachers down here, but even collaboration with students as well. And this seems to highlight collaborative learning quite a bit. Obviously, because it's all about collaborative learning. Says the study addresses questions says results indicate that students. So I like that it talked about the first hypothesis that they had when they did the study was that students who have taken online courses before will have better perceptions of learning from a collaborative activity compared to the first time online students. And it says here, students who had taken online courses before did not differ significantly in their perceptions of learning from the students that were taking an online course for the first time, which is pretty interesting. I'm gonna save this article just as an idea, or just as a reference to come back to. Leave that one up for a minute here, and let's go over to this one. A multi-case study of student perceptions of online course design elements and success. I don't know if this is exactly what we're looking for, but online programs in higher education. Talking about higher education again, so we'll see. Ooh, I like this idea right here. Another factor is that you can contribute to success occurs when students determine that a course is relevant to their future career. If we can get at that in high school at somehow. I know we offer a bunch of career readiness, career investigation type courses, but if we can, create courses, I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to add that into students, just as an idea. There we go. Let's see what the okay. So this is interesting as well. It talks about in this article, um, talking about the effective online, to be an effective online learning, the key elements of the instructor. So I'm going to go ahead and take those as well and put those in my memo just as ideas, not to necessarily be used, but I gotta make sure I put that website on there as well so I can cite that later. Wow. Okay. Yeah, let's leave it like that for right now. And then I'm going to cite this one as see above. See the long thing above. Okay. Alright, going back here. Another factor. Therefore, research. So I think the big thing that it kind of talks about in here is the design. The significance or the importance of the design of the course. So I think if we can hit that home with the teachers, designing, a course that meets the needs of the students. There's feedback. There's, your presence. There's the instructor presence for, you know, not only feedback but also advice, helping students learn from their mistakes, because that's one thing, going back to my notes, that's one thing that I noticed or I remember writing down was, the difficulty in learning from mistakes and experiences, with an instructor that isn't always present. So I think that the instructor presence is huge, and even having the instructor right there in the classroom to help, I think would be the most beneficial. So I'm thinking that that's where I can hit the memo, encouraging teachers to use it. I think that last thing that I found is very, very beneficial. So that is just about an hour. Actually, we're over an hour now. So I think I got a pretty good base as to where we can go with this. I have that again. I broke it down to the intro, and and then the three areas: encouraging students, teachers, and parents. I haven't done a ton of stuff on parents yet, but that's obviously going to come, and then a conclusion. So I'm gonna continue to work on this, and then see where we can go from here. So.